Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. The entire first time I tried to film this video, I was wearing this eye look, and it took me the entire video to realize that my microphone was off, so the entire thing was mute. It was a great time. But today's video, as you can probably tell by the title, is going to be 10 products that in my personal opinione are overhyped, and why I think they're overhyped. And some of these pack a double punch. They're both overhyped and overpriced. I just want to preface this by saying, just because it's overhyped doesn't mean I think it's bad. Like, a lot of these products I think are actually very good products. They just have this really like strong cult following. A lot of people stan these products really hard, and I just don't think that they're worthy of all that hype. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video full of my hot takes. We are in the last few days to pick up the dewy merch before it is gone forever. So bonfire.com/JuliaMazzucato. I highly recommend the hoodies. They are my favorite piece that we have. They're very soft. I'm not sure full details of this makeup look should already be on Instagram. No, this is not a Euphoria themed makeup look. I don't have HBO. Basically, this is me trying to do a neutral eye look. I decided to do a wing liner. My wing turned out really big, and I was like, you know what? My wing is so big, might as well throw a rhinestone on there. And then finally, I just like blacked out and woke up with 3 golden stars around my orbital bone. So yeah, natural escalation of events. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to have a discussion down in the comments about what products you think are overhyped. And without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, this palette's pretty nostalgic to me because it was probably the most hyped up product besides the Modern Renaissance palette when I first like started getting into makeup. Everybody had this palette at some point. The Morphe 35O palette, the OG. I have decluttered mine and I'm selling it on Poshmark, but this was the OG warm tone palette. Like, this walked so that James Charles could run. You know what? I do think it's beautiful. I think the quality is actually pretty decent. And clearly I'm not against neutrals. I love a good warm tone neutral palette. The reason I think this is overhyped is, yes, it is a pretty basic color scheme, especially by like what we have available now. There's so many more interesting warm tone palettes out there, but honestly I think this is mad overhyped for a palette that basically has like maybe 10 unique shades in it, and the rest are basically repeat shades within the same palette. So just to prove a point, I'm going to swatch all the dark brown mattes together and you can just be the judge of it. These are all like the dark brown shades in this palette. Clearly there are quite a few of them. There is some like shade distinction, I guess, but they all look pretty much the same on the eyes. Same can be said for like many of the oranges in here, many of the shimmers in here. I just feel like it's a palette that didn't have to be 35 shades. And you know what? I do think it's a pretty good quality palette for a really good price tag. I just think that this was like everybody's it palette for a long time, and it's like it's okay. Next up is a very hyped up overpriced luxury product. Just in general, my kind of sweet spot for makeup products is like kind of like high end. I do like some drugstore products and I do like some like very splurgy expensive products, but generally my favorite products are from the mid-price like high end range, what you'd find at Sephora. A lot of the time with luxury products, I feel like they're a nice user experience, but they don't necessarily have just like any outstanding quality that really justifies the cost. And that is exactly how I feel about the YSL Touche Éclat Blur Primer. Granted, I do have a sample size, so I didn't actually buy this myself, but I believe it's upwards of $50 for this primer. And there's gold flakes in it, which I guess adds to the luxury experience of the primer, but really doesn't do anything for your skin. So obviously this is quite an overpriced primer, but I heard a lot of really good things about the quality of it. I heard it's just like this miracle primer for making your skin smooth, for making your foundation last long, for blurring everything out. It's aight. Like, this is very much your basic kind of like silicone-y dimethicone filled primer. It definitely feels very smooth on the face, but I didn't feel like it couldn't do anything that like a $20 cheaper primer or even like a $10 primer couldn't do. I think there's just plenty of very similarly textured smoothing primers that don't have gold flakes in them and don't come in a beautiful bottle. So, and I think there's certain things where it's just better to save and certain things where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe splurge on that. And I just don't really think that this is one of those things that I'd be like, yeah, splurge on it. It's totally worth it, because it's not. Alright, this next thing is something I used to really recommend as a holy grail of mine. It's still something I really do enjoy the quality of. I just have come to kind of realize it is way overhyped. There are so many things that you could get for a lot less product, and it's just really not a great value. So the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder. This is a huge like luxury and makeup artist cult favorite. It's $46 for this tiny pan.
So the thing is, I know that I'm being played. Like, I know it. But I'm not going to do anything about it because, listen to this, I'm a dumb bitch.
It is 0.14 ounces. I guess the pan might be like pretty deep, but yeah, it's a contour powder, and it's a beautiful contour powder. I feel like the undertone is amazing for a couple different shades of this one, and this is one of the best powder contours for my skin tone. But again, I just think it's got so much hype behind it for what it is, which is basically a lightly colorful powder that blends out really nicely. There's so many other things you could get, and basically the reason I wanted this so much was because I think it was Tarte, who was like, oh my god, it's the only contour powder you'll ever need.
That's not true though.
Great contour powder. It's not the best thing I've ever tried. I think it's good. This next one I feel like is probably going to be the most unpopular hot take in the video, but I stand behind it because this is a product I've gone on quite the journey with, where everyone was saying it was the best moisturizer of all time. I tried it, I was like, oh my god, it is the best moisturizer of all time. And then I found things that I like even better for a less exorbitant price tag. So Tatcha water cream. I definitely think it's a very nice moisturizer, especially for like under makeup. It's really not too occlusive, it's just a very light layer of hydration, so I think it layers really beautifully underneath makeup products. And I can definitely see someone who has more oily skin really liking this as their daily moisturizer. But for what it is, which is basically just a like very lightweight hydrating cream that turns into a gel, I just think there's so many really comparable formulas to this that are not $68. So a couple good alternatives. I think the First Day Beauty Coconut Water Cream is really, really lovely. If you are sensitive to coconut as an ingredient, you probably will not like this one, but I think it has that very similar like cream to water texture, and it's honestly even more hydrating on me. The Laneige Water Sleeping Mask is also a really great option. Again, very light texture, just melts into this watery balm, and I think it just has really great ingredients. Also very clean like the Tatcha one, but like not as incredibly expensive. And then even cheaper, Trader Joe's skincare line has this like water gel moisturizer thing that I've heard is really, really great. And I'm sure there's plenty of like kind of water textured, very thin moisturizers on the market that are like less than $10. So if you ever hear anybody saying that Tatcha water cream is like this very extremely unique formula that can't be replicated, I don't think that's true. I think it's a lovely moisturizer, but I don't think it's anything extremely special. Ooh, I have strong feelings about this one. I no longer own this product, so I have it written down on a piece of paper. Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara.
Bitch, disgusting.
This is a mascara that I've owned at least 5 different tubes of in my lifetime. Most of them have been tester sizes. Is a Better Than Sex mascara comes with literally every Too Faced gift set in existence. But also back when I was in that impressionable phase of like just getting into makeup, I watched other people for recommendations, and I really fell into, I think, the extreme hype on YouTube, but also the marketing hype that Too Faced uses, where it's like 1048% better than other mascaras. Like, okay. Again, we don't know where they got that statistic. It's probably not very factual. But for a while, I truly believed, like, this mascara is so good. But I just want to throw a prayer up for the ladies working at Too Faced, because, oh my god, honey, what kind of sex are you having? There are certain mascaras where I think, like, they're so bad that if I had a choice of either wearing that mascara or going mascara-less, I would just go mascara-less. This is not one of those mascaras. I would definitely use it if it was the only thing I had available to me, but I just think there's so many better options at the drugstore or even at Sephora for a similar price tag. I really love the wand shape. To me, the formula was just not really where I wanted it to be. It did end up like flaking throughout the day, so the flakes would kind of collect here, and then as my skin kind of got progressively dewier and oilier throughout the day, the flakes would turn into smudges, and I just have this like nice raccoon ring around my eyes. Super sexy. Once again, there's this really crazy cult following around this mascara. I believe it's like either one of the best-selling mascaras in the world or the best-selling mascara in the world. Which, yeah, I guess different strokes for different folks, but favorite mascara is the Essence Lash Princess mascara. I also love Milk Makeup Kush and Hourglass Caution, but the Too Faced one is a no from me. Pray for the ladies working at Too Faced. You know, I'm starting to realize a lot of the products in this video are things that were super, super popular around the time that I started getting into makeup. The month that I started my channel and started doing beauty videos, the Stila Glitter and Glow liquid shadows came out, and then my glittery ass was like, hell yeah. I only have one left. This is actually a mini. It's the Glitter and Glow shade Smoldering Satin, and I'm keeping this one until it dries up. Inevitably it will, and I'll not be able to use it anymore. I think it's almost there, actually. They have this beautiful glittery punch, and they look amazing on the eyes. I think the quality of these Glitter and Glows when you first get them are beautiful, and they're definitely very, very expensive products. $24 for a single eyeshadow, which is so much. I thought that they were such a unique product and they really were worth it. And then every single one that I've ever owned of these has dried out. Even this one, which I still own, is no longer like a liquid shadow. It's pretty much just a doe-footed applicator inside this like vaguely viscous glitter formula, which once these formulas dry out, they become super, super flaky on the eyes. As you can see, it's just getting kind of everywhere. So of course, wearing one of these, even when it's not even that old, even when it's like less than a year old, wearing one of these on your eye, which is moving constantly throughout the day, you're gonna get glitter fallout all around here. And for $24, that's just not acceptable, my dude. So I think that these fall into the trap of being overpriced and overhyped. I generally just prefer to go with like a loose glitter, which are technically harder to use, but they just last longer because they're loose glitter. But if you do want to go for like one of these liquid glitter toppers, I really like the Touch in Sol Medalist ones. These I've had for a lot longer, and I think that they are a bit more liquidy, so while these do require a little bit more layering, they last a lot longer. And they aren't quite as ridiculously priced. So I probably will never buy another Stila glitter. I think that they are, again, extremely beautiful. Like, you can't really argue with that swatch there, but it's really just not worth it for the value and the ridiculous quality of these. I feel like some of you guys are going to start thinking that I have a personal vendetta against Natasha Denona. I do not. I admire her work so much as a makeup artist. I've just not had the best of luck with her products. I do have one thing that I love from her so much, and it's probably one of the most underrated things in her line. The ND lip liner in the shade L4 is my favorite nude lip liner of all time. This is a great product. Her eyeshadows, though, which is what she's most known for,
Trash.
Natasha has, I would claim 3 formulas. She says she has 2, but I think that the mini palettes are definitely not the same formula as her big palettes. So she has the original formula, which I have right here, which is in the 5-pin palettes, the Sunset palettes, the big like $260 palettes. She has the new formula, which was in the Tropics palette, the Joya and Eris palette from Holiday 2017. And I think she kind of discontinued using that formula. And then she, of course, has the mini palette formula, which is... I subjectively think that the original formula is her best one, but even then, I don't really think it's worth the extreme amount of hype it gets. So, first of all, I think her shimmers are a lot better than her mattes. The shimmers perform beautifully, and to this day, even though these have shattered and I've had to repress them multiple times, I just think these are a really, really beautiful, rich and creamy, gorgeous formula. So I have no qualms with the shimmers. They have dried out a tiny bit, but they still perform beautifully. The mattes, however, once these dry out, they dry out. This was only a 5-pan palette though, and I've had people ask like if it dried out because I depotted them, but I've heard the same thing coming from people who have the Sunset palettes or even the Star palette or the bigger palettes. So I believe it was Casey Holmes who had the blue and green palette, and she said it just wasn't good anymore after like a year and a half of using it, which is not great. So I would agree. I think the one matte shade I have from their original formula just doesn't perform the same way that it used to. So personally, of all the like super expensive luxury eyeshadow formulas I've tried, Natasha's just never really vibed with me. I think Pat McGrath's formula is way superior for a pretty similar amount of product you're getting and for a very similar price point. Side note, this is not really a full product, so 7.5. This is 7.5 out of 10. Viseart shadows. I don't like them. I used to catch like a lot of heat from that because I know Viseart has a really die-hard stan base. I first tried out their mini palettes. I thought they were like very meh, middle of the road for me, and a lot of people were like, no, try out their Theory palettes or even the bigger palettes because those are a different formula from the minis, which pissed me off. Like, it should be the same formula between all palettes, but whatever. So I tried out one of the Theory palettes. Again, it was just very like, it was good eyeshadow, but it wasn't like I'd pay $80 for this palette, you know? So yeah, I feel the same way about Viseart that I feel about Natasha shadows, which is like, they're good shadows. It's a good formula, but it's not worth the amount of hype it gets, and it's definitely not worth the money.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
What's next? Ooh, ColourPop. Y'all, I have never really understood the hype behind the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. First of all, it separates in this really nasty ass way.
You better stop!
Just does not look attractive. Of course, I always just like kind of mix it up and it looks fine again, but it's not a good look. Anyways, these concealers, when they first dropped, I think it was one of ColourPop's like biggest releases because it was their first ever complexion drop. Like, they didn't have the foundations, they didn't have the powders, they didn't have anything in their line that was like face oriented besides like the blushes and the highlighters and stuff. And the initial reviews were just glowing. Everyone loved how full coverage it was. I think this was the era that everyone was using Tarte Shape Tape. I got it. At first I tried it out. I was like, oh my god, yeah, it is really full coverage. And yes, it is full coverage, but that doesn't make it look good. These just get really, really crepey on my under eyes. If you're probably wondering, why does she have 2 then? I like these as eye bases. I don't use them on my under eyes ever, but I think these are really beautiful as a primer for the eyelids. And I also use them sometimes as concealer for my face. So if I have like something I want to spot conceal, I'll put a very small amount of this on. And generally, because I don't really have like the wrinkles on my face that I do under my eyes or the creases, it won't like get gross of the day. But if I put this one on my under eyes, it's gonna look gnarly. But as a concealer, I think these are definitely very overhyped. I remember the very first video where I voiced my very unpopular opinion about this palette, and people were like, what? But over time, my channel has become a haven for people who, like me, do not love the Urban Decay Born to Red palette. I stole this one from my mom again for this video because I gave it to her. I don't like it. This almost, I would say, rivaled the Naked palettes with how much hype this one got. Everyone was like, Urban Decay? Doing colorful? And I think this color scheme is stunning. They really stepped out of the box. The packaging, they like went off. It's slim, it's compact, there's a really nice big mirror. It's just every beauty guru's dream for filming a tutorial. And there's so many color options in here. It sucks to me that they just didn't really nail the formula down. Swatch nice, but on the eyes, they just show up super, super muted. And the shimmers, none of them are very high impact. They're all just very like soft, not super reflective. So like here's the Natasha shimmer that I really like, and then here's the Urban Decay one. It's just not nearly at the same caliber of. So again, I think this palette has its merits. I get that some people like kind of softer, not as high impact formula. So it could be good for somebody who just likes having like kind of not as pigmented shades. But I especially think for the price tag, this is like pushing $50, and for the amount of hype surrounding this thing, I don't think that neutral palettes aren't capable of creating beautiful looks. Like, I've done some of my favorite looks ever with the Soft Glam palette. I think a good neutral palette can do those nice, like, glammed up, beautifully done, conceptualized looks, but also softer looks as well. And for me, this just really couldn't do what I wanted it to. So yeah. Does anyone else remember that one year where everybody was in love with the Wet n Wild Photo Fix foundation, or was that just a fever dream? Because it seems like after that initial phase of everyone loving this one, people snapped out of it and were like, oh yeah, it's really bad. I was one of those people who was like, oh my god, this is a great affordable foundation, but I really wasn't considering the fact that it just did not look good on my skin. Even back when I had oilier skin, I had acne back then, so my skin was producing a lot of oil. This still looked very artificial on me, and on dry skin, oh my god, it's a nightmare. I'm like really happy with where my skin is at now, and I think even if you have like perfect skin, it just does not look good. And also it smells like paint thinner, and I just can't get past that. It is a $6 foundation. I just think the CYO Life Proof is pretty much the same price and a lot better formula. But I fondly remember the period where everyone thought that this was the best foundation ever. Like, sold out at every drugstore. I bought this one, I think on Amazon, because I couldn't find it in any physical store near me. And I bought so many shades of this one. I was like, maybe if I get the perfect shade for me, it'll look great on my skin. Oh honey, no.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about the 10 products I think are very overhyped. Would love for this to turn into a discussion, so please let me know in the comments if you have any products that you think are overhyped. And I would love to see what you guys think. Get your dewy merch. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed down below, and also follow me on Instagram to see makeup looks like this posted when I decide to try. Hot girl summer is unfortunately coming to an end. You know what? Megan has created Hot Nerd Fall, and my smart college ass is so down for that. So if you made it to the very end of this video, you hot nerds, you get the bonus name. Love you. Bye.